Ready? We started a minute ago. This deck called me. I was really astonished by it because it's the glow in the dark deck, and it doesn't need to glow in the dark right now. But it's just a hippie, trippy, it's a very tripped out deck. Kind of makes me think of the 60s and that kind of flavor and that kind of freeness energy. And then there's this circus energy, there's actor and stage performance energy all throughout here without even had set down all the decks. This is some of what you went through. Usually I get the archetypes first, and this is more of what you're gone through first. Let's pull some archetypes if we can. You're the lazy lady in the moon is what I'm getting. I'll show you this. The lazy lady in the moon. You very much followed the pull of the moon. The moon cycles. It's almost as if you would follow whatever would have been considered a traveling troupe of actors. Like we might consider it circus or carnies, but it was more a troupe of actors. You were young when you started doing this. You were raised in this energy, this hippie trippy commune type energy. Like there's a whole group of this traveling group, this traveling. It's a troupe. It's a troupe. These have the troupe in them, and we had them earlier. They have the troupe. They have the archetypes as the troupe. Let's see if there's anything else here. The lazy lady in the moon, the watcher, and the hanged man, because you were always in the moon. You were the director. You grew into the director of this thing. We get the lazy lady of the moon. Where did she go? Here. The watcher that sees everything, that sees, knows the feeling, knows the energy, that has the mirror, holds the mirrors, encircles everything, has the whole show under. You're the director of this cast. The lazy lady in the moon. I think you were in female energy, but you were definitely the one that was directing everything. What was the story? This feels like two distinct things, like this side and this side. On this side, you would tell a story of star-crossed lovers and somebody that would be magnificent, almost like Helen of Troy, would be the story that you would tell. And how somebody wanted to keep something and that a trick was played. So this is one play that you would do, is the Helen of Troy thing. Not so much Romeo and Juliet. Helen of Troy is the story that you would tell. And when you were younger, you would probably be the Helen. Your mom was probably the Helen. The other story. I'm not sure, but I think we might be seeing Macbeth type story over here. Now, I don't know if Macbeth had even been written, but I think that's what we're getting. And I don't know my stories well enough, but it's about this young group of boys that are fighting, this young group, trying to fight battles. Somebody proves himself. And then this Queen of Swords, that there's this strange collaboration, strange cooperation, strange forces at work. And we have the wounded young soldier, and then kind of a wretched queen on that one, in that story, in that play. Was there anything else about that play that you would want to know? No, not really. Well, what else are these cards trying to tell me? Oh, okay, so here's the plays, right? This one was more the play of your youth. This is more the play that you were directing and doing in your older years. This is more the story of your days that I want to see. Let's see the story of her days. Okay, sometimes you guys will be a little bit shystery with the crowd. You would know how to work the crowd to get extra donations or extra money. Now, a little bit shyster doesn't mean you were straight up thieves, but sometimes you were not received well. It's not like you would go around stealing everything, but sometimes they pay their ticket of admission, and then you ask, or as the performer, you ask for more to be given. Sometimes that was good, sometimes not. You had to take the show on the road in a way that was different for a season. For a season. 3 of the main players passed away. It's why you were put in the spot of director earlier on than what you would expect. Then things started picking up. The movement started picking up. You started being more known. Your troupe started being more known. So I'm asking myself, is this something tribal? Are they going land to land as performing tribe? No, it's a troupe, and it feels like more like you would perhaps go, this is more, it's not even quite festival to festival. It's like world travelers that would maybe visit kings or queens on occasion after having built up these stories so well that people would know these stories. World travelers, never in one place for too long, but well known. The fear was becoming boring, like the fear of becoming boring and too common, so you wouldn't perform all the time. You would perform at things like if there were, you need to prove yourself doing jousting shit. I think this is like very, very Euro. You would perform for these kinds of events, like for the royalties, or the royalties when they would have those kinds of things going on. Bazaar. Anything else? Okay. Oh, it got tiring. It got toxic. It got too much. It was holding you back too much. It's like you always had to be on the job, on the move, on the job. Always stuck to this. You wanted out of this for some reason. That's why you were called the lazy lady in the moon. Because after you had directed so many of these, you were just fucking worn out. It was just work. You needed it to slow down. And so you would direct from the moon and maybe interject a line or two, but you gave up the leading role because you just didn't want to do that quite so much. You had the foresight to think ahead for the troupe, think how much you want to do of this, but it really was a life of work. I'm not seeing a huge lot about romance or family. It's just occupation. See what the night. You would prepare for this, and you would play this plays late into the night. Sometimes 1 or 2 shows that would take a long time with long intermissions and go late into the night. You kept odd hours. Again, tied to the show. And the work. And sometimes disappointed in the work, sometimes tired of the work. The fruits of your labor were there, but you felt locked in. Very locked into the work, and your eyes on something that would be more peaceful, this is the closest to what you would have looked like back then. I mean, you wouldn't have had the size, but this is the closest where you would have looked like. This is you seeing time coming when you're spinning the wheel and you're going to be done. Look at this. The lazy lady in the moon. You had this gift of shedding light on certain circumstances and seeing some of the things that were going up, like maybe politically or in the community, in the society, in the society around you. Had the ability to see it and shed light on it. You wouldn't do it like a Punch and Judy show, no. But you would do it, and look, you would see where fate was starting to turn. Can you show them this? Or show it to the iPad or whatever. You understood the circle of life. You understood the beginnings and endings of the stories, and you understood it from a broader perspective than that. You did have some insight. That's the moon again, the insight. The High Priestess card kicks up after that. Yeah, you had the insight. You knew when you were approaching your own death and your own fate. And it was early. It was young. It was something to do with what you would wear. It could have even been something to do with the way that you would make yourself up that was toxic to how you did. And you couldn't sustain this forever. You knew. The body of work that you built couldn't go on and on and on. There was something about you that was weakening your physical self, not the troop itself, but you as a person. I think you knew when you were dying and what was wrong, but I don't know what you died of. It feels like a slow poisoning, perhaps. It feels like modern day equivalent might be, I think it was the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz that had makeup that made him sick, and it feels like makeup that made you sick. A slow poisoning. Also, something that you were drinking wasn't so great for you. It didn't make you fulfilled. Maybe you were a little bit overly into the cups, like into the alcohol a little bit much.
Do you see what era this is?
It might be the 1400s, the 15s. I'll see if I can get that in a second. Let me see if I can get more of the story out. There was starting to be something about Egyptian travel back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is Euro. This is after people had come from Egypt over, like trade routes, tea routes. Yeah? For a while, the theater really favored you. For a while, you were like almost forever young because of the makeup, but that's what ends up doing it in. You had to make everything count. You understood when your time was short. The Egypt factor again comes in. I think you wanted to do an Egyptian play. I don't know that you got to do it. Something about connections to Egypt. Now, I don't know that this means it was Cleopatra or not, or Hatshepsut or whatever. Something with the Egyptians was fascinating to you. You wanted to do that play. You were losing time. I think in a former life you probably were in Egypt, but this is your life that Egypt would have been hinted at to you here, but you were nowhere near traveling to Egypt. Like people from Egypt would have been established in the European at that time. Do we have a time frame? Can we get a time frame? I'll try. I'll see. Let's see if we can go to the search. I think we're in the 1400s. Pretty sure 1450s. Are we in the 1450s? Is that somewhere even close? I don't know my history well enough. What time are we in? Are we in the 1450s? Nine of Wands. Ace of Swords. We might be in the 1450s to the 1490s. Here you are hanging in the sky again, yeah. 1450s to 1490s, somewhere in there is what I'm thinking. I don't know what that was about. But there was much travel. That's what I'm getting. That's as much as it's going to give me.
Seems like a hard life.
I think it was very hard and quite beautiful. I think you loved the acting thing. Comparatively to what in the 1490s was the easy life, may I ask? I mean, like, can you even imagine living before indoor plumbing? Ugh. But it was a beautiful life. It was really, really, it wasn't something that you hated. It became work eventually, but it wasn't something you hated throughout and entirely. No. It was quite the interesting one. Yeah, that feels complete. Is there anything else? Have I missed something? No, this was your fate. This was how you wanted it. The hanging woman, the lazy woman in the moon. Okay, I'll show you that again. Where is she? Show that.
She said, I still love center stage.
And show the acrobatics. This was something you were born and raised to do, and you did really, really well. I think your death probably was long coming, slow poisoning is what it feels like. And maybe not slow poisoning over years, but maybe over a few years. Something in the way the makeup was done would have changed and been in more fashion, and that I think is what caused it. I don't know. That's what I got. Good luck on that. Wow. Yeah, you'll have a strong connection to Egypt. I don't know what that's about, but you will. And I think you'll find about that another time, but I don't know if it'll be this lifetime or another reading, or I have no idea. No idea. But yeah, that's where it was.
Right on.
Fun. Amazing.